Well, hello, my fellow Debarians, and welcome to Watch and Win, Learn and Earn for this Wednesday, October 21st, 2020. All right. And this is number 7 as I'm using this BLM and LGBT quota that society, the social engineers of your time are using it, to keep the masses separate and at war with each other. I'm using it, as you know, to bring us back to the mindset of our maker, because that's the best place for us to be in. All right. And sorry to be late, but I'll explain to you in a minute when I get back to my office scene here what happened, what I had to struggle with today. But in any case, it's wonderful to have you here. It's good that you came. Okay. So we're talking about, the builder's laws matters. The instructions of the ones that build business or build societies, those are the ones that matters. And when we are in agreement with that, we can all work together and work something. And LGBT says, let God be true. Right? Let the governing operations director, GOD, the governing operations director, be the truth to guide us. And that's what must be established, okay? So, let me take you here to my office. Now, let me see which office I'm going to use. The one with the cars in the back. Yeah, I will start with that one. Let me see. All right, here we go. All right, so, okay, tell you what happened today. I have this tooth here. It really stands out. Well, it's a fake one. I had it because I was playing games when I was a little kid with my brother. I was making fun of him, my little brother, John, and I was teasing him, making fun of him, and I got on the ground. I must have been maybe 10 or 9 or something like that, But in any case, I was going and I was laughing on the floor like that, and he got a little round rock and he threw it like that, like a like a bowling ball, and he hit my tooth and it broke. So then my dad had it fixed, and they put a fake one. But now, as of last year, it's been falling off every now and then, so I have to find some super glue to put it back. And that's what happened today. So that's why it took me a little while to start, But I managed to put it back as best as I could, so I hope it doesn't fly loose while I'm talking to you, because I tend to speak loud. I got to get to the dentist sometime and work on getting one of those nice dentures, This is an old time that I have here. But it lasted a long time, I'm going to be 61 this year, and that lasted a long time for it to start messing up just this last year. But in any case, it's so good to have you, I'm really glad to have you here. And so we're looking today, because this is the month of what is called when they begin in the Jewish calendar. They begin talking about Reshyit, in the beginning, which I was explaining. If you saw the one that I gave yesterday, that's a mistranslation, and it's very interesting that God raised me. I've been 40 years. My job as a translator. For the most of the time I was doing it for free for churches and what have you, just translating all the time. I even got to translate for Billy Graham in 1985 in the Anaheim. He had he had one of those crusades, the Bill Graham crusade in Anaheim, and they asked me to be a translator there on the radio. He was on the stadium, and I was looking at him, and I was translating on the radio for the Spanish speakers. And they liked it so much that the very next year they were going to have a gathering of 5,000 pastors from South America and Central America, and they were going to get together, and they liked the style that I did, because I found out when I translated for Billy Graham that he only had about 12 sermons. And what he did is he just put clips from the recent news and he put it back into the thing. So they had given me his outline and follow his outline. And I was trying to do that, but I couldn't, because I'm not used to that. I was trained with this Dr. R.L. Heimers, who trained me just to go after every word, So I would just listen and be one word behind you. I was able to do that. So I just threw the notes on the floor. I got up and I was just watching him on TV and just doing everything exactly. And I got word to him that I was a good translator that way. So he sent me a letter and invited me to be the official translator for the Amsterdam Evangelical Reunion of All Pastors. And a lot of pastors went there, about 5,000 from South America and what have you. And they were going to meet there the very next year. They wanted me to be the official translator, but I declined, because at the time I was going to this church called the Open Door Community Church, and they were very committed to house churches and to doing evangelism in Hollywood. And I thought that was a magnificent thing, because that wasn't too much of that. But there's a lot of preachers all over the place. So I stuck to that commitment to just be there in that place that I was going, and I did not go. So it's an experience that I let it pass away because I thought it was more commitment in what I was doing in the house churches, and and as it turns out, a year, that was like 1985, like almost like a year later, in 1986. The same pastor I was committed to, he kicked me out of his church because I confronted him in he not being consistent with his doctrine on a one-to-one basis. I did not reprove him in front of all the church. I was his official translator almost all the time, but he started doing something that it was not quite with the scriptures, and I went to confront him on a one-to-one basis, and he started screaming at me and telling him, you have to obey them that have the rule over you. And I said, no, I have to obey God. God has the rule over all of us. And if you're not in line with the scriptures, I cannot continue to blaspheme God with you. And unless you change your ways, you don't count on me, because he was doing things that were not scriptural. So he just kicked me out of the church, and he wrote a letter that he's excommunicated me from the universal church of God. He had the power to kick me out. Apparently, that's what he thought. So that's how I left that church. He kicked me out for me confronting him, and he's not doing something right according to his teaching, because, I believe in what he was teaching at the time. But that's how things happen in life, But nonetheless, none of these things has affected me, because all along I've been true to my convictions. Whatever I have followed, I have done it with my whole heart, And so a lot of people that had left that church, I remember a lot of people left the church, were really troubled for years. They thought they were going to go to hell for sure, because that's the most committed and most hard-working church that probably they ever went to, And so, but it didn't affect me, because I was into the scriptures, and, and then when I left, a lot of people came to my house. Well, don't you want to start a church? I said, no, I'm not ready for that. But, I know that you guys, you need to study more. So then we got together for about a year in my house, and we collected, they wanted to tithe because they were everybody was trained to tithe in there. Everybody tithe, And so they wanted to tithe, so say, okay, I studied about tithing, and then I found out that in the Bible, the tithing was collected like maybe 3 or 4 times a year, and it was like an all-you-can-eat buffet. When it got the tithing, was the people bought all this stuff, and they had a big cookout. And I said, so when we collect the tithe, what we're going to use is we're going to go to an all-you-can-eat restaurant with half of it to eat there, and the other half we're going to buy books so that we can feed our soul. And that's how a group started in my house, a little group of about 15, and then it went down. Everybody went their way after about a year, and then I went to another church after they left, because they needed to be grounded. So I gave them we bought all kinds of books, and we read upon the fathers of the church. We read about Luther. We read about Calvin. We got into the scriptures, because I have been working at the bookstore in that church, and I had gotten all those information. I knew about all these books, and I recommended them to buy those books, and all of them learned that way and established themselves more subtly. But in any case, let me get back to this. So that's a little trivia there of what things are happening. But I hope everything is going good with you. But I've been enjoying this time of of being here cooped up. I may be cooped up in my house, but my spirit and my soul is flying high on the Reshyit, because I explained yesterday that the word Reshyit, which is translated in the beginning, the Reshyit is the word for female head, the head of a woman. And so the translation, they put the best in it to say in the beginning, because the head is the part of you that is the most high part, the superior part of you. So it's the highest, it's the top. So you can be used to refer to something that is at the highest, at the top, that has the most priority. So it's just for terminology like that. But it says just like that. So, so let me take you here. Okay, let me put you down first so I can show you what I'm going to do here next. Okay, let me take you to my other screen here where all my stuff is set up. Okay, let me hear with picture. All right. So, okay, let me take you here to this one. So, here are the verses, Reshyit, Elohim, Barar, Et, Shamayim, Eretz. Okay? And so Reshyit, if you put the Beth in front, that's how they put in the beginning, because they put the Beth in front. But when you look at the translation, the Bereshit is something that they add, the translator, so that they don't have to, because it doesn't make sense that it starts that the God starts, we're saying the head of the woman, and then it says Elohim, and then what they do is they fill it out with words in between to try to make sense. But then you miss what God wanted you to see. So in the Jewish year, we started with Rosh Hashanah, which means the head of the year. We are in the head of God, in the mindset of the Aleph Bet, and that's what I was trying to explain yesterday. And so the whole idea of Reshyit is the female head, right? And so then I explained yesterday, let me see if I can put a picture of what I was talking about yesterday here. Here it is. Okay. So yesterday I was explaining that this Reshyit here, the one on top here, that says female head, Proverbs 1:7 and 3:19 and 4:7. Okay, so when you go to the Bible here to look at that, let's look at this in Proverbs. That's how you have to use the Bible and see how it is understood by the Bible itself, because the Bible defines it. And so, come to find out that there's a verse that I have liked all my life, that I always quoted, which is not Psalm, but Proverbs 4:7. Let me put it in here for you, so we can go over a little bit of what I talked about yesterday. Proverbs 4, verse 7. Okay, all right. It says here wisdom. All right, and wisdom means Chokmah, like a Chokmah. Like you're going to Lugia, Chokmah. This is Chokmah, and that's what wisdom is. Okay, but it says wisdom, then is, and that the principal thing. But all this is the principal thing. It's translated by the word Reshyit, which is what is at the beginning there. So the head of the woman. So it's saying that wisdom is Reshyit. The head of the woman is referring to wisdom, because if you read the book of Proverbs, the whole book of Proverbs, 31 chapters of Proverbs are dedicated to wisdom, to the virtuous woman. And wisdom cried out in the street, and it's all referred to a female. Wisdom is Solomon, the wisest man upon the earth, refers to wisdom as a female, right? And he says that you need to get her, you need to have her be your crown. He says that how she will instruct you, she will make you great. So to wisdom, that's because that was the prayer that may God make him the wisest man on the earth, because he could have, God asked him, ask me for anything that you want, because he was going to be the king. So he asked for wisdom, okay? And come to find out, wisdom is a woman, personified by a woman, and it's the head of the woman. So the head of the woman in the beginning, in the Bible, that's what it's saying. Reshyit is the head of the woman. In other words, it's synonymous with wisdom, because that's a female head. Wisdom, so you have to have the wisdom of God, okay? So the wisdom of God is personified as a female. So that's a female head. It's just like I was telling you the other day when I was explaining how the figure of the Aleph Bet, because it's a habitation, it's a room in which all your needs and your comforts are supplied. Okay, and the mother means the strong waters, because it's the Aleph and the M. The father means the Aleph and the Bet, the house, the strong house, and the mother means the strong solutions. Okay, so even when a woman gives birth, the womb, and the bag in which the baby is being formed, that's the picture of the Aleph Bet, the compartment that supplies the needs, and inside of that compartment are the strong solutions. So you see there in one is the Aleph Bet, the father and the mother, in the whole picture of the womb. The bag and the womb is the Aleph and the father, the strong house supplying, and the solutions, the strong solutions is the mother. That's the meaning for mother, strong solutions. So there, the aspect, the feminine and the masculine aspect, God, because God, when He in His own image created He them, male and female created He them. So the aspect of them, we were separated like that as humanity, but when we're put together, that's how we advance and we prosper. So from the very beginning, the first thing that God exalts, Yehubave, and that's a male, by the way, the name of God, Yehubave, Jehovah, some people call him. He's saying that His wisdom, He exalts the woman from the very beginning. Okay, so the way it ends up being translated, so come to find out, then the whole book of Proverbs is dedicated to the word Reshyit, because Reshyit is wisdom, is the head of a woman. So it makes sense when you say it that way. And now let me take you back to this thing that I was talking here. So Reshyit is for female head, which is the same as wisdom. I explained that yesterday. And then powers, that's for the word Elohim. And that's plural, because El is God and Elohim is God, but they translated God. So they're not true to the translation. Give me the King James. It says, in the beginning, which it says, in the female head, gods, but that doesn't make sense, you see. So they try to just ignore that and just put God as plural, but that's not being true. But I've been an interpreter. God prepared me to be a translator, not just for anything. I'm being very careful to understand, because you got to get into the meaning and to understand where God's standing from. That's why we have to study everything. Okay, so then when you understand that Elohim means powers or authorities, it's plural. And I call it also faculties, because faculties is a way of giving you power to learn something. Okay, giving you certain faculties. Okay, so the female head is wisdom. We understand it from Proverbs, 4:7. And then powers and faculties, or Elohim, that's perfect to translate Elohim, which means gods, as it's in plural there. That's a male word, by the way. And then to make it easy, I put it in parentheses. You can think of it as guiding official diagrams, that GOD, guiding official diagrams, or guiding official details, or guiding official directions. All of that will represent, So if you want to put it singular, you can still say it that way, and it sounds plural, because I always put all my creative powers into play when I translate these things. And so for the word bara, which means the use created, I show you how in 2 Samuel, or in 1 Samuel, I believe, 2:29, it shows for the word bara means fatten, is to fill something, to make something fat, to fill it up. So it's used as translation, as created here, the word created, but it's actually for the word filling up something or fattening something, filling it up. That's what word bara. And then I explained to you that this word et, okay, appears 7,302 times in the Tanakh, in what you call the Old Testament. That word appears 7,302 times and it's never translated because they don't have a word for it. It says it's unrepresented in the English language. That's what it says, when you go to look at it, in the sword of the Lord. I explained that to them. That's what it says. So imagine a word that is, and these letters, Aleph Tab, it just means A to Z, if you transliterate it, because Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew, and Tab is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So what it's saying, Aleph Tab. So from A to C, that's the way you will translate it literally. They should have even just put that, but no, they don't put it anywhere, and it's found all over the place. And it's a very important word because he points out that God is interested in the order of words, and in making you understand that it is the words that I'm giving you, the instructions that I want you to keep. That's my reality, because every creator, their word or their manual, their patent, that's the reality of the product and service. And that's what they guide and the way preserve it in a patent office, because that's the real business. That's their exclusivity powers of intellectual ownership, and I don't give it to anybody. Okay? And so they know that. So the cars that they make, or the TVs, the products they make, they let you call it that you are the owner, but you're only the owner of the destruction, because you're going to come back for the other update. Only the owner that makes it and does the diagram, he is the official owner. He doesn't give that word, because that word is the reality of the product and service or program. Okay? And so that the same with God. His personality is not going to flow out of you if you are not in line with the same way that he uses the word and the same way that he utilizes it. Okay? So here we go. Wisdom is for Reshyit, the head. Okay? And the head means female woman. So it's identified in Proverbs 4:7. That is, wisdom is Reshyit. Okay? Wisdom is the principal thing. So with all that getting, get wisdom, and with all that getting, get understanding. Okay? All that stuff like that. Very important, that's what it's referring to. So, for the word, the bar, we mean created, I use the word configure. Because when you configuration, mean you have everything figured out. You have to fill it up with all the configurations. So I use the word configure, or it can be used to fatten or to fill up, right? And then, this word that is left without translation in all, whether you use the New International Version, I don't care what version you use in the Bible, they don't translate the Aleph Tab. And that's a disservice to the scripture. How can you ignore that word appears 7,302 times and not never translated in any language. It's not even translated in Spanish. So you see there's a lot of confusion when it's not translated. And then the next word is heavens, shamayim. Okay, shamayim is heavens. And then the word eretz is for earth. Eretz. So when you see that translation that we are accustomed to, then it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. But when you put in the words, this is what it says. This is literally what it says. Wisdom faculties, or the wisdom powers, wisdom faculties configure from A to Z, heavens and earth. So you can see the big difference here. Wisdom faculties configure or put together, filled out, completely fattened and fill it out from A to Z, because that tells you that you got to know it from heart. When you say, I know everything from A to Z, that means you know that stuff. You have mastered it. You're good at it. When people use that expression, everybody that is a creator, they knows what you're talking about. How well you know that? I know everything from A to Z, man. And then you know it. When you use that expression, the Bible talks like that. 7,000, it's telling you to learn everything from A to Z, or do everything from A to Z. It's telling you to pay attention to the exact word. So I translated the one that all the other translations ignore, which is the A to Z, the Aleph, Tab, the first letter in the alphabet. Hebrew is Aleph, and the Tab is the last one. So the equivalent of A to Z, when people say, I did everything from A to Z. I know everything from A to Z. So wisdom faculties configure from A to Z, heavens and earth. And to tell you more about that, you look at, for example, let me take you here at 3:19. We're going to look at chapter 3, verse 19 in Proverbs. And it tells you, because if wisdom was the one being used by God, the head of the woman wisdom, to create the heavens, it will say something like this, something similar to that. Look at what it says in verse 19 here. Chapter 3, verse 19. Okay, I'm going to point to this here. Here we're going to put it here right now. I'm going to press to this so you can see it. 3:19. Okay. It says, the Lord by wisdom, right there we go, Hakma, by wisdom, Hakma, had founded the earth. You see? So the beginning. So it says he had found, he put it together, right? He just formed it, right? The earth, by understanding, had he established the heavens. So that tells you that it was wisdom, the wisdom of God, the wisdom of Yud He Vav He, that was using the faculties or powers of wisdom to establish and make the earth and make the heavens, okay? Because that's exactly when every creator in this world, gets to create a business, they come up with an idea of service. What do? They use their hakma, the closest, because hakma is wisdom, but hakam is wise. To be wise is to be a hakam. And guess what? That's how I figured out that the best word in English is to be a hacker. If you're a hackman, because a hacker is wise to figure out, you don't have to get into things that nobody else can get into. So you have to be a hacker when you come to the scripture. You have to go into the words and put them all together, And I think I've become a little bit of a hacker in the scriptures, because I can figure a lot of things out that a lot of scholars and sages from the past have left it just to tradition, But the whole idea is to keep in the mindset, right? So it tells you right away to this, the wisdom, which is Reshyit, the female head, is the one that was making the faculties of wisdom, are putting together that. And that's what people use. Their ability to think and the root to wisdom. That's how they lay out the diagrams. From A to Z, they write it down. This is how it's going to be. And then when they start making the big alphabet, the strong tower, the building, they make the ceiling, which is going to be like the heavens. They put the ground underneath the floor, so that's the earth. And they're going to establish the whole environment for the business. So they create a whole thing like that. So they create a ceiling, and they create the floor ground, but everything with that, with the wisdom faculties, with the power, reasoning powers, right? So that's exactly. So the Bible wants us to be constantly in the mindset of wisdom. The word head represents mindset, right? And that's what I'm trying to teach you. The whole purpose for us in existence is to enter into the mindset of God and to be there. So when you translate it the way that I've been telling you right now here, let me put back this thing. All right. Wisdom faculties configured from A to Z, heavens and earth. So in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. In this translation, you get the idea that you're serving a God in time. There are a lot of people, because of this translation, that's how they figure out, that's how time, how time and space was created in this part here. What it has not, it's not talking about that. When you just forget that, you just read wisdom faculties configure A to Z, from A to Z, heavens and earth. What is that telling you? That you can get wisdom faculties and do the same right now. You have to have the same fear and the same esteem and the same regard for words that God has. For God, words are the only true reality, and He wants you to be in that same page with Him, in that same mindset. So do we understand that? That's the whole purpose of Him doing that way. So this is an invitation. Genesis 1:1 is an invitation for you to be in the mindset of your Maker. I always acquire wisdom, and that's why the wisest man on the earth, Solomon, tells you, he gives you a whole book of Proverbs dedicated for the Reshyit, dedicated for the head of a woman. That should give you a whole perspective and enjoyment that you can be on it 24/7. Okay? And that's the whole idea, is to be there at all times, and to enjoy Him in the here and now. Because that's why everything was made, And that's the beautiful thing. So wisdom faculties configured from A to Z, heavens and earth, is an invitation for all of us to constantly be in wisdom, to constantly be reasoning and understanding. Now, in the economy of God, what does that economy consist of? He did not call us to go make an apple tree. He made it, and that apple tree is resilient and brilliant. That means it procreates itself, it replicates and everything without any of our help. It just does it by himself. By itself, it does that. Okay, so it's like a plant. God-made plants are resilient and brilliant. They do it all by themselves. They can self-propagate and self-replicate, okay? But the man-made plants, they need our manpower. We have to use our own imagination to create a building that's going to be a man-made plant for products and services. And so that's why I call it the retarded garden, or the alphabet simulation. Because everything is made from their own alphabet or their own language, right? They form it in certain rules, and then they keep the formation of it and the order of it, and that's how they bring a business. But it's all run by manpower. So it's a retarded, because it's to use our power, use us to make it and sustain it. But that's not the case with God. So a plant, like a plant that, imagine that the man-made plants were the way that God made the plant. When God made an apple tree, you don't go inside the apple tree to go get all the ingredients and put it together and then package the apple and everything. No, everything is done inside of the tree. And the tree does everything, gathers all the ingredients and everything, and then at the end he packages in the peel and everything, and then he just hangs it out there for you to come and get it and take it to your friends. What a plan, But but that's a God-made plan, okay? But a man-made plan, man, you got to go inside there, got all the ingredients, to make all this stuff of these products and services, and then you have to package it, So every tree acts like a strong tower too, but everything that it has inside is all so you don't have to work. It does it all by itself. It brings you rest. So he does the Shabbat because it does all the commands of God without you having to have to work for it to make it happen. So that's the whole idea of being. So the plants and the trees that God made are beautiful, a beautiful industry like that. So we could concentrate more on just being in His mindset, to have the attitude to take care of what comes out of us, all the fruit that comes out of us, our children, that we can be dedicated and be there all the time, because all the God made plants, they're so resilient, they don't need too much of our help. We need to observe and be just like them. But because we grow in this retarded garden in which everything has to be manpower, we think that is normal, for people to depend on others to take care of you, because that's how you take care of all the businesses. All the businesses are handicapped in that way. They do not self-propagate and self-duplicate. Okay? But we do. So in whatever garden you're raised, if this is in the retarded garden, you think that it's normal for people just to care of you just for existing. No. You have to learn something, in order to be productive to society and to your fellow men. But I'm digressing here. Let me get to what I was getting at. So here, the invitation, therefore, is for us to be in the mindset of God. So wisdom faculties configure and put together from A to Z, heavens and earth. Brand new way of looking at things, but it's been like that all the time. I have not added anything. As a matter of fact, I even took one letter less, and I translated one that all the other versions have ignored and have not translated, okay? Because that's took 40 years for God to prepare me to be this kind of translator, but that's how meticulously I am when I'm translating. I want to get to to the way that you feel about what you say. Okay, so now let's go to the next one here. All right, so this is for today. I wrote this down, and I put here. So it says Proverbs 18:10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. That's the Aleph Bet. That's a strong tower. And it means put together. That means father in Hebrew. The righteous run into it and is safe. And I keep singing a song that the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe. I learned a long time ago. But you understand, that's the name of the Lord. He wants to be known as the Father, right? And he wants us to be in the mindset of the Father. Now, a father in the sense, when in the East they talk about the father, it's not that they're ignoring the mother. Because in order for you to have the title of a father, that means you're carrying a heavy load. You have a mother, somebody that acts as a mother, that is, the mother of your children. You have children, you have a house, you have a business, you have all kinds of things. You have a heavy load to show to have the title of a father. That's why it starts with being a strong tower. That means the father it's not just an echo chamber word. It carries some weight in it. I mean, you're carrying some weight with that title. So it includes, when you say they have to have the mindset of the father, that means the mother is included in there, because the mother is inside the house providing all the solutions for the house. She's the strong solutions. The father builds the house, she represents she does the protection, the production, and the mother inside provides all the solutions. And then the children are there being formed and developed, in the mindset of the father. So the whole thing works together like that. All right, so this is not like the mother is being ignored. So, but it's telling you here that, so he wants us to be like a mother and father to words. Okay, so that we inherit words, and we make sure that the words that we inherit are full of meaning and definition. I like to take a meaning as a mom and definition as a dad. So you gather the words and you're giving the right meaning and the right definition. You give a word its right meaning and definition is mom and dad, and that word makes everybody be a producer, a provider, a protector of that product. It makes you be a teacher, makes you be a distributor. It makes you be all of that, because a wholesome word is a whole economy. But when you know a word without any of its meaning and definition, you're only an echo chamber. At best, you're only a consumer. And that's what they want to leave you here in this world, as consumer. And we are proud to call ourselves the number one consumer capital in the world. That's a shameful thing in the eyes of Elohim, who wants to have the words full of meaning. That's the worst way of using the word. No, that's no regard, no respect for the word. Okay? So that's what I'm saying here. So let me put it here. Let me get closer to this thing so we can see what I'm talking about. So if the governing operations director, okay, if the governing operations director, anybody that is a little clever there, what I tried to say there is God. If God, if the governing operations director thoroughly fills us with his mindset, his head, for us to be a walking and talking, totally overjoyed, readily altruistic humanity. Those that are smart know that means Torah. Torah. Okay? So every creator, this could be applied to anybody that wants us to work for them. They are governing operations directors. Anybody that makes a company, that's what they become, a governing operations director, or the giver of directions. So they are working a capacity of giving you directions. And they want you, they instruct us, and they give us the workshop and the training, so they thoroughly fill us with his mindset, when they teach you the product, so that you will see what he was thinking when he made that product for. So thoroughly fills us with his mindset for us to be a walking and talking, totally overjoyed, readily altruistic humanity, to render either his personality, products, and programs. Then we should never forget that even though we have a flesh formation, that we have this body of flesh, our personality, or awareness of who we are is a word concept. Understand that who you are is an amalgamation of all the instructions that you have received from your parents, from your teachers, from your relatives, from strangers, from friends. Everything that you have gathered from everybody has formed and made you who you are today. Everything that you have chosen to take on it, to handle these things in life and to handle these things in life from the advice that you have received, that's what you are. You're a word concept, okay, of all these things, an amalgamation of all these ideas. That's what you become. And even with people that are doing artificial intelligence, they realize that personality things they're working on personality programs. It's all words. A program is all words and software. It has nothing to do with the flesh. So all the words makes you who you are. Okay? So your soul is also the fullness of all the words that you receive. So that's why it's important to listen to words, because they tell you that when you leave this world, there's nothing you can take with you, but words that you get here, that's what you take with you. And the employment of those words is what you're going to reveal, when you stand before the giver of words. And it's best for us to take the words that are in his mindset, because that means we're connected with him now and then, and there's never no interruption. All right? So it says, then we should never forget that we should never forget that even though we have a flesh formation, we have this body of flesh, our personality or awareness of who we are is a word concept made to uphold and support the social engineering that gave birth to us. Because that's hard for people to swallow, but you practically are engineered, by the elites, by those that are above you. They give you a whole idea of how to look at life. And then without even realizing it, you are doing their bidding. And you're praying that you do it well without even realizing it, okay? I'm going to play something for you right now that it has to do with the worship of time. It's about 4.5 minutes, okay? But it deals with the worship of time, how the worship of time started, and it tells you which are the gods that we're worshiping when we're worshiping time. And you probably never thought about this before, because this is social engineering from a long time ago. And because it has been useful for ages, people keep on using it. But that's why when you read the Bible the way I'm telling you right now, then you don't worship time. You are in the here and now, and you worship and you serve the mind of your maker. So you eliminate father time, which is Chronos, in ancient, that's the god of time, Chronos. But I'm going to have somebody that is an expert here for 4.5 minutes. Is going to explain to you how it is that you as a word concept are social engineer, and you have no choice. And you realize how in many ways this is the manipulation of time. And this guy is going to say to you, I'm just going to play his video right now. I hope everything comes out okay.
Then the manipulation of time is a word that you and I call chronokinesis. That comes from the word chronos, or chronology, which is one of the names of the gods in Greek and Cyprian mythology. So the most of the words, the languages, the dialects, and the accents that we're using, not just here in the Western Hemisphere, Jason, but all over the world, 80% of these words are interconnected into some type of mythology, whether it is Greek mythology or Babylonian mythology or Roman mythology or Cyprian or Persian mythology. So then the manipulation of time that you and I had talked about, this term Horus, right? Or soft Horus, okay? Now, according to Egyptology, Jason, and we're talking about the manipulation of time, there was a high-ranking demon god called Horus. Now, the term Horus is interconnected today as the word hour. So the word hour, capital H-O-U-R, has its root, Jason, in the phrase, in the name Horus. Now, according to Coptic history, Coptic mythology, through what you and I call Egyptology, Horus, who represents the hour, the manipulation of time, has 4 sons in this Celtic mythology. The first son is a man by the name of Siteri. Siti, or Siteri, capital I-M-S-E-T-Y. Siti with the Y silent. That son represents also an hour. Now the second son is Duor Mutif, capital D-U-A-M-U-T-E-F, which means half hour. The third son is a man by the name of Hapai, capital H-A-P-I, which means minute. So that minute, or M-I-N, is also one of the names of the gods in Egyptian history or Egyptology. The fourth and the last son of the hour, or Horus, is a man by the name of Qubei Sinuth, capital Q-E-B-E-S-E-N-U-E-F, which means second. So then, when we're talking about the manipulation of both reality and now timology or time, so time is nothing but an illusion, Jason. So then we're going by a Gregorian calendar that is divided into 12 months and a 24-hour protracted period of time. So then this term here, manipulation of time, or chronokinesis, it gets deeper. So the four sons of Horus represent hour, half hour, minute, second. Yes, so the names of the extensions of what you and I call time or chronokinesis, it's a fallacy, Jason. So then how do we know that this is 2020? As we're talking about Kobe Bryant, a Luciferian Project completed volume 8. So I'm just laying the foundation. Now getting back to that word second, for the last son of Horus, Qubei Sinuth, second comes from a Greek word, sexa gesimo, capital S-E-X-A-G-E-S-I-M-A-L. Sexa gesimo is a Greek time pattern that is based upon a 60-second and a 60-minute hour.
All right. So there you see, fascinating, right? You know, the word hour, we use it. We understand why social engineering, the elites, the people that are on top, like the pharaohs, or all the way they engineer the societies. If something worked, they kept it going, millennia to millennia. So without realizing, when anytime you say what hour it is, you call it the name of Horus. 1 minute it is, you call it all his sons. You're mentioning, because that's how these people understood. That's how that they were going to make themselves deities forever. They would ingrain themselves in the mindset of the subjects. And so you become a word concept, you see, of your society, your social engineering that gave you birth. So all these people, because the idea of Kronos is like the god of creation, in the sense that with time, you know, you're going to get the things that you need in this world. So the whole idea is that you come here empty, but give it time and you're going to accumulate some good stuff. Or, you know, you come here empty, but give it time, and you come here as a nobody, but give it time and you're going to become somebody. And all this kind of type of thinking like that. But the thing is, you're not come here empty in the sense, because God is here present. God made this whole resilient garden. And you're empty of him only. That's the only thing you're missing. There's nothing else, because you were in his image to manifest his mindset. That's all that was missing. Okay? There's nothing else higher than that. Everything else that you're going to make, every robot, every artificial intelligence, every car, that is way less superior than your little pinky. You know, your little pinky puts to shame everything that man has ever made. You know, your flesh, the way it's put together, you know, the mitochondria, all the cells, how they divide, that in the function of tub. I have to explain all of that in another one. That's a beautiful word, tub. Oh, Okay, but in any case, all of that makes you the highest being there is. To me, there's nothing greater than a human being, because you are the one equipped to express who God is. Okay? You are the patent office where God wants to put his Torah, and therefore shine out of you in his character, All the other places, the TV knows his manual, the dishwasher knows his manual. Everything has their manual, and all the makers of those manuals protect in a patent office outside of you. They let you use those words, those manuals for you to make those products, but you cannot own that manual because that's not yours. And so they keep that intellectual property just for themselves. But the Torah was made for you. That's mine. And God wants to deposit it in me. Okay? So I can know it from A to Z, and I'm going to take it. I'm taking it. Because that's the one he's giving it for me to have, for you and I to have, because that's properly. We are the patent office of God, where he wants to deposit that. And then we want to just go and work for all the other products, in the retarded garden and trying to make it. We're going down. We're not gaining anything. So, but for the consumer that does not know the mindset of his creator, the concept of time, that you're getting something in time, it works to keep you going as a consumer. So you don't learn the word, you're only an echo chamber. I got to get that product, I got to get this status, I got to get all of that, so that you validate your existence as a consumer. But as a consumer, you're just a flame in the world. You have taken the function of a flame. You are a hell to the world. And you eat away all the products and services and up to the next upgrade. You're nothing but a flame. Okay? So you understand? That's why the nation says, for the wicked, those that do not function with the mindset of God shall be converted into hell. Into the function of a consumer. And all the nations that forget the mindset of God will only be consumers. It says that in the Bible. For the wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God. Everybody that is not in the mindset of the Reshyit, of the wisdom of God, they only become a consumer in this world. Okay? And so a consumer in the world, that you have inherited the function of the flame. Alright? So there you have it. So that's why when the Bible talks about the end of time, they talk about all the sages, how the end of time is going to come. That's what it's referring to. I'm opening your understanding, so from this point on, you should not bow down to Chronos. Because the idea of time bringing something into fruition and making things happen, even the scientists believe in Chronos. Because they believe that with the passing of millions of years, our cells will form, and voila, we're here. So they're giving credit to Father Time, to Chronos. So scientists, they still believe that time makes things happen, okay? When it's the word that puts things together. So the end of time is that the worship of Father Time is going to come to an end, because when you're in the head of Yud Hevave, in his wisdom, in the head of wisdom that he has, then you're not in time anymore. You're in the head, you're not in time. You're not in the worship of Horus, in the worship of anything. Okay, and Horus is the one that the Egyptians worship like 3,000 times before, 3,000 years or so before Christ, and he has a lot of similarities in the sense that he was born in December 25. He had 12 disciples. He supposedly, he turned water into wine. He did all kinds of miracles too. So there's a lot of people that say that there's a lot of confusion, that Christianity tries to steal a lot of things from that. But Horus is a big deity that's been used for a long time through all kinds of religions. They use the hour thing. Hora in Spanish, Hora still has Horus in there, you see. So all this concept, you see, you're part of this social engineering. So let me finish reading this, and then I'm going to start taking questions, because I'm almost at the end here. So now remember, therefore, I'm going to write right here. Remember, therefore, that all rights you wish to attribute or recognize as being endowed by a creator for an individual flesh unit, that means my flesh, are actually only for each individual wholesome word that is completely filled up with all of its meaning and definition. In other words, you don't have rights just because you exist as a lump of flesh. You have to know something. Like in a company, they hire you because you're going to learn the manual and product. If you don't learn, you're fired. You have to know the wholesome word of what the product and service does so you can stay there. So that's why Noah was the only one that was spared, because he was perfect. He found favor not because he was perfect. I mean, he was complete in the understanding that he had received from his ancestors about how to believe in God and how to be in his mindset. He was the only one that was complete in that. Everybody else had lost their way. Everybody else was not in that Reshyit and mindset. So only Noah was found there. And so that's why he was kept, because he had the wholesome davar, the wholesome word of who God is and his mindset. That's why God said, because he is who God is the reason for the whole world to exist. And only Noah had kept it. So Noah was the only one that saved humanity, because we were made to reflect who God is. And he was the only one in the Reshyit. You understand? So you have to have something. So the rights for you to have a life, liberty, and freedom, and all of that, and the pursuit of happiness, or what they call you, that's what a whole company gets. That's why every company that has a product has a patent office that protects that company, so that company will be free to be beneficial and produce the products they want to produce everywhere in the world, and all nations welcome them to put their businesses there. If they're like in the 4, 520 or 500 Fortune companies, they're big like that. They're good for any nation. So that's what you need to understand. It's a wholesome word that gets all of that, and you have to therefore be a person that loves meanings and definitions. And so I put here, this is the pledge of allegiance of the Bavarians. I pledge allegiance to the wholesome word and to the solutions it can render. One meaningful word, that is the dabar, under the guidance of definitions, that is God, building economies, because that's what you do, and at liberty to be beneficial and charitable to all. Because when you know words in all of its fullness, you are not an echo chamber. You are an economy, my friend. You can run the world, because you are in the mind of the Creator at all times. You're here for the sake of creating and to keep creating, for reproducing, for renewing, for restoring, for refreshing. You don't wander away from the mindset of wisdom. And therefore, everything that comes into your countenance is renewed, is refreshed, is invigorated, is motivated, is encouraged, it's kept going, is valued, is seen as, everybody can sense that emanating from you. All right, so we'll, let me get to see if I can see you guys here. Let me put this stuff. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, I can even see you here too. All right, let me see. Okay, time for the questions. Here we go. Now let me go all the way to the bottom here. Okay. Yeah, this is a good question. Now, times and seasons and cycles exist, my people, okay? Because God created the times and the seasons, so we have all that. But even we come from the Greek, so we have even the months. We have days, the days dedicated to Greek gods. Like Monday is the day of the moon. Saturday is the day for Saturn. That's the way it's translated. Okay, but so I will get to speak more about this. But this is this is the beautiful thing, that we're understanding that we are going to be in the mindset of God, and that's why I'm teaching you to stay there. Okay. All right, now the first question for $50. Let me go all the way to the end, because I want to make sure that I get the first person. Okay. Now, all right, for the first question of for $50 is the word Reshyit, okay, which is used by most translators as in the beginning. What does it really represent? What does it really mean, the word Reshyit? Either what it means or what it really is. Okay, either one will be $50. Andre Crispin is the first one I see. The head of a woman. Correcto mundo, my friend. Correcto mundo. Give an applause to Andre Crispin. You get $50. All right, the head of a woman. All right, okay. Very good. All right. So exactly. So this is the head of the woman. Okay, that's Reshyit. And for the next question is, okay, let me see what we have in here. We'll go all the way to the bottom, so I'm ready to listen to the next one that comes. All right. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's exactly. Literally, it means the head of the woman, or the female head. Brianna was the second one after that. Not bad, Brianna. That was pretty good. Female head or head. Those are literally the meanings of that. Okay. And now the rest of you answered our answer. Wisdom is good, because that also. But it's literally, that's what it means. In the Hebrew, the word Reshyit means a woman's head. Resh is the man's head. Resh is just the man's head, and Reshyit is the woman's head. Okay. Now, the representation of that in the is for the it's a wisdom, which is okay. The rest of you that say that is also good too. But the main literal meaning in Hebrew is the woman's head. Okay. All right. Now, okay. Now let me ask you the next question: Is did God make you to just know the sound of the word, or to know the fullness of a word? What did He create it for you? For you to know just the sound of a word, or to know the fullness of a word? Why did God make you for? To know just the sound of a word, or to know the fullness of the word? Which one? For which purpose did God created you? Okay. Well, I'll go. You said fullness. That's exact word, because I'm giving you that. Brianna Duran was the first one to say fullness, because those are the choices I gave. To know the sound of the word or the fullness, and that Duran said fullness. Yeah. So I gave you the choices there. You have to choose from one or the other. So yeah, for listening careful, that's you get that. Yeah. So Brianna Duran was the first one to answer fullness there. So she's get the other $50. Very good. Yeah, so you got to listen. Some of you, meaning is also good, because we need to know the meaning. But I give two choices there, so that was a good try there, Rosa. But Brianna Duran get this one. All right. All right. So now the next question, the last $50, okay? You have to do now when it says there, Reshyit Elohim Barar, which means wisdom faculties configure. That portion is talking about being in time or being in the mindset of God. It's talking about being somewhere in time or being in the mindset of God. When it says wisdom faculties configure, what is that portion talking about? Being someplace in time or being in the mindset of God? What is it referring to? Let me go all the way to the bottom here. All right. The mindset. Yes. Being in the mindset. Exactly. Rosa Crispin, I almost got it. But you were second. Brian Wanta has the third $50. Okay. Brian Wanta. Very good, my friends. All right. So, because that's the whole purpose of what I'm doing here. I want to establish you in the mindset in the here and now. It's just to get the whole thing that you need to get is just to get the same attitude that God has towards words, and in that just like that, it's going to put you ahead of everybody in the world, because that's what fascinates me the more. Every day I'm learning 3 or 4 things new that I did not know before, because to me, words and the apprehension and getting onto words is really what fascinates me, So I'm very encouraged to see all of you. It's good to see Jody Smith. It's good to see you here. Wow, it's great. I'm glad you come into this gatherings here, and trying to participate. That's very good. And so it's wonderful to have seen you guys come today. I love each and every one of you. Congratulations to those that answer correctly. You're hearing and learning, and that's the whole purpose of everything here. So I'm just going to finish now with a little commercial, I suppose. And let me close it up here. Let me see. What can I use? All right. Story Monarch is a good